beside me below us is my brother Adam. And this is our first end season NFL content. And this is the week, basically a end season recap so far. Tell people watching this what we're going to do today, Adam.
Yeah, we're just going to do a little roundtable. We're going to talk about some questions. We're going to see now that we're a third of the way through, approximately through the NFL season. I'm going to look at who's been doing well, who's been surprising us in a good way, who's been surprising us in a bad way. I'll take a look at the rest of the season and maybe make some predictions too. So, first of all, first question is who has surprised us in a good way? Who's maybe outperformed our expectations when it comes to teams in the NFL this year?
I'd actually say the Indianapolis Colts
Yeah.
because, well, one, Anthony Richardson got hurt in the preseason. And here comes Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones, just stealing his job and just saving the Colts from the Dungeons.
Yeah, no, that I think that's a great pick. And in fact, Daniel, that was going to be my pick, and because of that, I don't think I can do that. So I'm gonna have to go surprising and kind of in a bad way in the Ravens. And I'll say, maybe some of it is out of their hands, with just absolutely tons of injuries. So, maybe I should say that isn't surprising when we talk about the Ravens and some injuries. But still, I think just I think we've forgotten, and it's kind of crazy how quickly they vanished from kind of the NFL picture. Just
Yeah.
it's week 6, and all of a sudden it's just like there's no talk. I mean, and I get it's obviously they've taken a lot of early losses, but I think for me the Ravens are just one of the most surprising on the bad side teams.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to them. They went from top Super Bowl contender to I don't even know where they
Afterthought.
played last week. Yeah, afterthought. Yeah, that's right. Um, I think that one of the teams that surprised me in a positive way, and we'll talk contender pretender later, but like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if they're good still, but they keep winning games. And I feel like that's been the case for years. Like they have got a good defense most of the time. They're scoring some points. I don't know if they have a good run game or a good pass game. I think they have a good defense. I don't, but they just keep winning games. They're 4-1. They're in first place. And who's going to catch them? The Bengals with Joe Flacco. Uh, the Ravens are now way behind, and I don't know when Lamar Jackson's coming back and the Browns. I mean, enough said. Like it's like it's the Steelers division, and we barely cracked the third of the way mark. And I'm not even sure if they're good. Um, but they keep winning games, and that has surprised me for sure.
Yeah, no, the Steelers are a, really surprising team, like you said, part of it, and we'll see if it is just their division being so weak right now, and maybe that will, to your point, kind of maybe get them a higher seed than they should get, maybe in the playoffs. But yeah, but we'll see. And then I'm interested, maybe on you said the surprising good or bad, maybe on the player side. So maybe Daniel, for you, maybe what's a player, maybe good or bad that's kind of surprised you?
Good. Daniel Jones. What is he needs to happen? He's in the MVP conversation right now. And he's a former New York Giant who didn't work out with the Giants. Then left the Giants, and then he finally worked out. And in a bad way, Joe. Unfortunately, I say Joe because it's just he's a fun player to watch. He just is injury prone, and he hasn't really gotten back to the Super Bowl ever since losing 1 yard start, pun intended.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, those are good picks. And in fact, I'll go with, I think maybe one that people won't expect, but somebody who I think's really made an impact, and I think will make an impact on the season because I think they're one of the most, high potential teams. But I think Shakir, for the Buffalo Bills, and his
Mm.
ability to become the, actual weapon that Josh Allen needs, maybe that, potential replacement for kind of the, what they hoped Stephon Diggs would be, that, elite yard after catch receiver. And I think, potentially he could have one of the largest impacts on this season, just seeing, how good of a team potentially the Bills are with him. Obviously, they're going to need some other weapons to come back. But I think for me, that's been one of the most surprising kind of like players that's taken a huge step forward. And I believe he leads the league in yards after catch, was what I was seeing the last night's broadcast. So has been having a really great kind of a little bit surprising season for me.
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered if he would take the next step, and it seemed like things were set up for him to take the next step last year, and I kind of forgot about him, and now he's made me regret that.
Yeah.
I think another player that I expected to play a larger role this season is Terry McLaurin. He's just hasn't had more than 3 or 4 catches in a game. He hasn't really been an explosive playmaker for them, and Washington Commanders really have suffered as a result. They're 3-3. They're another one of those teams that really could go either way. We're not really sure whether they're gonna be able to match up to their NFC Championship game performance last season, whether they're a playoff team, whether they're a real contender, or whether they're short. I remember a couple years ago, the Houston Texans, when CJ Stroud's rookie year, he blew up and they looked so good. And, we thought they were going to be one of the teams to handle for years to come. And since then, they just haven't quite gotten back to there. I don't know if I want to say it's a fluke, but everything just kind of came together for them that season, and they haven't quite come together in the same way since. Um, I feel like Washington's kind of at an inflection point where they could follow that trajectory and go up and then kind of back down, or this could just be a bump in the road. And Terry McLaurin, I think, is going to have to be a huge part of that if they're going to be a real contender this season. And so far, he's been kind of surprisingly missing because I really like him as a player.
He got his big contract, so now what's to play for now? No, but I mean, but there's some talk of that, that he got his big contract extension, got a lot of guaranteed money. And not to say that always sometimes hampers players, but sometimes that can hamper a player, their kind of level of motivation. So, maybe he'll bounce back this season and prove everybody wrong.
Hope so. I like him.
For sure.
All right, so we got another question to move on to here. We're thinking about hot seats. We talked about surprising in good or bad way. There's already been one firing in the NFL this year, and that is Brian Callahan at Tennessee. Daniel, you said that you had an idea of who should replace him.
Yes. I'm talking about former Penn State head coach James Franklin.
Oh, he's
Okay.
available.
Just thinking about it doesn't make a lot of sense. He's the one that produced elite players like Micah Parsons, Saquon Barkley, and Pat Freiermuth, Chris Godwin. He knows how to coach. He's, I'd say, should be the front runner for the Titans job because of his track record of producing players like Micah Parsons, Chris Godwin, Pat Freiermuth. And and the list goes on, and he's just one of the best coaches Penn State has ever had. And he replaced Bill O'Brien at Penn State now. They've fired since Franklin now. Franklin, I see being the front runner for the Titans job because of his track record of producing these highly touted prospects. Like, I'm talking about like future Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
If you're going to
Hot
produce
take.
future Hall of Famers, why aren't you in the NFL?
I'll throw out maybe another name, Daniel, that has some Penn State ties. But maybe Bill O'Brien could be, somebody that the Titans might consider. I think he might be another candidate, maybe with, maybe I think maybe a better shot than James Franklin. Maybe like a Bill O'Brien as somebody. In fact, even somebody which I'll say kind of shocked me was they mentioned Matt Nagy, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. So it sounds like they're casting a pretty wide net. From what it sounds like. So maybe James Franklin is in that that wide net they're casting.
Yeah, Daniel, I would have told you a few years back, there's no chance that a college coach who gets fired from their college job is going to then be hired as an NFL head coach. But Cliff Kingsbury already did it, so I won't say it can't happen.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
What do you guys think? Who's going to be the next coach to be fired?
I mean, I would say the trendy pick is McDaniels. I mean, like at Miami. I mean, it's hard not to mention him, I would say. I mean, just complete underperformance. And maybe I'll throw out a maybe not the first one this season. But I think one that's getting a lot more rumblings, and especially one if we'll see how their season goes. But McDermott with the Bills. I mean, I have to say it. There's been rumblings for seasons. I think really this year and the next year, I think kind of have to be the breaking points for the Bills. They're realizing that they're starting to get the heavy salary cap hits of Josh Allen. Post his kind of rookie quarterback. Kind of the dreamland that a lot of NFL teams can kind of live in and continue to be contenders in. But they're really coming out of that, and they're having to rely on some other people, and it's really hit their depth, which we've seen. So I think maybe that's one that maybe not in season, but if it was to be in season, it'd be maybe 2 or 3 weeks post if they were to say fall out of playoff contention, which I'm not predicting that, but I think maybe one that maybe people don't expect.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. When you're talking about McDermott, I was thinking about Nick Sirianni and the Eagles and how
Mhm.
I feel like there were lots of rumblings that he might get fired as soon as last season.
Yeah.
Because like they were good, but they weren't taking the next step, and teams weren't sure that they were ever going to. And so I feel like fans were really there's rumblings that maybe Nick Sirianni wasn't the guy and they should fire him and bring somebody else in. And now he wouldn't want a Super Bowl, so he's probably got a couple of years before they start calling for him again. But I could see a kind of a similarity there with where the Bills are at. If McDermott goes on and finds a way to put it together and they win the Super Bowl this year, he's set for life. But if they fall short yet again, I think you're right. There's a chance that it could be him. The
I
other,
mean,
like, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, it kind of becomes a James Franklin. I mean, in a sense, I mean, not to just bring up all the recent news, but it kind of becomes that of where you can be a great coach and still get fired. I mean,
Yeah. In a way, almost a victim of his own success because he
yeah,
created such a good team and a winning culture there in Buffalo, and now they expect to win. They expect to
right.
go take the next step and win the Super Bowl, which they haven't done in a really long time. And so,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I could see it. The other one I could see being a victim of their own success in that sort of way is John Harbaugh. What do you think of that, Daniel? I've heard some rumblings that maybe John Harbaugh could be out
Hmm.
at the end of this season and no longer head coach of the Ravens. Do you think that would be a good move for the Ravens to fire John Harbaugh?
Honestly, no, because, like, why? First of all, why? Second of all, he's a Hall of
Scoreboard.
Fame
The
head
scoreboard's
coach.
why. No.
Well, the scoreboard is why this season, but if you look at the scoreboard any
Yeah.
further, he's been
Yes. Yeah.
a
Yes.
real good head coach for a long time.
Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, Daniel. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine,
Fine.
that's fine. But John Harbaugh, like, sometimes Hall of Fame careers end by getting fired. But with John Harbaugh, I don't see that. I really don't. I could this could be his last year, possibly, because isn't he getting up there in age too? I feel like he is.
I
Yeah.
think he's in his 60s.
Yeah, he's one of the older head coaches in the NFL, but I think if he wants to continue coaching, he's got some years left.
He's 63.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe to your point, yeah, a couple more years. I mean, he'll be able to get a Medicare at 65. So maybe in a couple of years,
Does he discount?
This get a
What'd you
senior
say?
discount. Oh man. All right, so let's talk about some contenders and pretenders. First on the list, we've got the 5-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Are they for real? Are they a Super Bowl contender? Or do you think they're going to drop off at some point? Is this all a mirage?
I think the Bucks are playoff worthy, but Super Bowl, not yet. I think they are a top tier edge rusher away from contending. Maybe a Dane Sutton in there for them. Maybe it could be, or there could be a head coach away. Because it's Todd Bowles the guy for the future. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I will say I'm a little bit more optimistic, I think, on the Bucks, and it sounded like you were. I'll say that I think they're 5-1 with actually a ton of injuries where, Baker Mayfield's been having to play with actually some second and third stringers and really is kind of, I'll say dragged or even thrown them, along by some of his fantastic play. So I'm pretty positive, I think, on the Bucks. I think especially we've seen, some pretty strong weaknesses in the NFC. I mean, if you think about who were the last two teams, in the NFC Championship and kind of how their seasons have been, really the up and downs of both the Commanders and the Eagles, I think that side's pretty wide open. And we'll see if Baker can kick through that door. But I'm actually pretty optimistic. I think they have a pretty good shot, pretty talented team. Still veteran defense. So we'll see. But they're definitely an exciting team to watch.
Yeah, I'm actually going to side with Luke. I think they're contenders. Like Luke said, the NFC is wide open right now, and you look at the cast of characters that Baker Mayfield has around him. He's really elevated his level of play this year. So I think that he's in the MVP conversation. The NFC is wide open. I think that they've got about as good a chance as anybody to end up in the Super Bowl.
Honestly, I'm not saying that the Bucks are pretenders. I would say they are contenders if you want to talk about playoff wise.
Okay.
Championship, they're not there championship contending wise.
Which I think's a good clarification, Daniel. Which I'll say, I think for this segment, I think we should say for a Super Bowl,
Okay.
are they pretenders or contenders? I think maybe in this case, you would say probably that they're pretenders for a Super Bowl, Daniel.
I'm not saying they're not Super Bowl pretenders, but I'm actually saying that they could make it to the Super Bowl. I'm actually in between pretender or contender for the Bucks because
Fair enough.
it's just difficult to like.
You are unconvinced, I can tell.
Yeah, which
that's
it's early season, so we'll see. But yeah, who is the next team that you're thinking?
Next team is the Indianapolis Colts. Super Bowl pretenders or contenders?
I have a feeling that Daniel. I was gonna say I have a feeling Daniel will not be as lukewarm on this one. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, contenders immediately. I have a huge prediction. Colts win the Super Bowl this year.
Ooh,
Wow, that is
You heard it here
spicy.
first. You heard it
Yes,
here
you heard
first.
him first because, first of all, they've not been to the playoffs. No, like, they've not been this good that they had, like, Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Come on now. How much luck do you think those need? Now.
Well, I think they'll need quite a bit, get quite a bit of luck. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, no, I think I would say as far as a Super Bowl, I would lean more towards pretenders. I think that they are, to your point, Daniel, like I think they're a strong playoff team. But again, like I don't see them even though I don't know. I would say that they're a steady team, but I think sometimes in the playoffs, those are the type of teams that end up getting knocked out early just because they don't have the kind of the dynamic ability that I think really like separates teams in the playoffs. When it is, such a high stress scenario where really it is just those inches. Like I think the Colts are definitely they're a consistent team, especially, if they can, get ahead of you and kind of, really ground and pound, which I think again is can win you playoff games, especially if you have a, absolutely elite defense, which they have a good defense, but I wouldn't call it, super elite. So I'll lean more towards pretenders. Again, to your point, Daniel, kind of a cop out. I still think they're a playoff team, but I think it'll be tough for them to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like Luke said, I think that there's a good chance they make the playoffs because they have such a good record. But I have picked against them, I think, in NFL Pick'em every single week, and I think I'm going to continue to. I don't know. I'm not convinced. Every week, I'm like, like I mean, they won, but like, I don't know. I'm not convinced. I do think they'll probably find their way in the playoffs. They started 5-1. That's pretty hard to miss in their division. I don't believe in the Jaguars either. The Texans can't seem to find their way, and so I think they're going to be a playoff team. A good chance they win the division, but I don't see them winning a playoff game.
That's fair.
All right, so our next team is the Buffalo Bills. We already touched on them a little bit. Are the Buffalo Bills a real Super Bowl contender, or are they going to get dropped out of the playoffs again this year?
For me, I could see the Bills. They'll definitely hang to the playoffs. At least get them in the playoffs. They may not give it a hump, but I want to see them in the playoffs close to getting there.
Yeah, see, I'll go a little bit. Man, we're really on the opposites, Daniel, on this because I'll go on the other side and say that I think the Bills are maybe still are close to or are the betting odds favorites to win the Super Bowl. So I think they're absolutely contenders. In fact, I think they are the main contenders, with really the Chiefs and maybe the Eagles, but I think they really have dropped back a little bit with some of their more recent performances. So. I would say I think they're definitely, not just contenders. I think they're favorites. So I'll kind of go maybe that strongly.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think until the last couple weeks, I really thought that the Bills were the team to beat in the AFC, and then they've been beat. So we'll have to see. I think to your point earlier, you look at the cast of supporting cast around Josh Allen. He's playing at an elite level, and he has been for years. Can players like Khalil Shakir take a step up? Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid. Can the team around him step forward enough and support him enough to take that next step? I think that's where you reach that question. I'm going to say no. I think the Bills are going to be the number 2 seed, number 1 or number 2 seed in the AFC, and I think they're going to lose in the playoffs to the Chiefs again. All right, our next team is the Philadelphia Eagles. Kind of the same story. They started off strong with a lot of wins, and now we see them dropping a couple games. Are the Eagles storming their way back to the Super Bowl, or are they going to fall off and we'll have another new NFC East champion again? Luke says down. Let's hear it.
I'm saying down. So I'll tell you that I still think they have a very I'll say dynamic defense. I would have last year I called them a good defense. I don't know if I can call them that necessarily. I mean, they've still I would say still been a decent defense, but I'll just call them a dynamic defense in that they have, very dynamic players really across the board, both in the secondary and the defensive line. So I think at times, they're an incredibly high potential team just because of that. Just because still, I think in the NFL, like really defensive and offensive line tend to win you championships. I mean, we've seen that really in the past few years, as much as Mahomes and Hurts and the kind of star players really, those Super Bowls were won in the trenches. And so, obviously I won't count them out, but really it's almost like Jalen Hurts is taking a step back. And really not just him, but also I think some of the, frustrations with the inability to, really, let's call it out, to get the run game to Saquon as well as they've been able to. They've kind of run, still been able to run Jalen relatively well, and 7 tush pushes every game. We get it, but so that they've been able to do that, but really Saquon's kind of taken a step back, and that's led to a lot of, I think, frustrations. With kind of a lot of their other star players, which Philadelphia is kind of already a pressure cooker. So that's why I'm going. I'm not going yet, but I'm going.
Honestly, for me, Eagles, I may have to agree with Luke here because mostly because are they gonna be in their division up for grabs again? Eagles had been okay. And as someone that works with an Eagles fan, so I would say Eagles wings down.
And the Eagles are pretenders. Okay. Well, I feel like it's wild because they're Super Bowl champions. They're trying to defend their title. And I think we're gonna all agree on this one. I don't know. They have the most expensive offense in the NFL, and yet that is my biggest worry. Like the defense is good. It's gonna be solid. They have an awesome offensive line, and they've got 2 really good wide receivers, a really good tight end, one of the best running backs in football, and yet they can't seem to pass or run the ball effectively. It's just it's confusing. It's mind-boggling. I don't really know what's happening right now. They have enough talent, like you said, Luke, on the offensive and defensive lines, and really all the way through the entire roster. They've got a lot. I don't know how they continue to pay for it all. But they have a. I'm sorry.
Stack it 5 years out and void year contracts, and
Yeah, so
that's the Howie Roseman magic.
Other shoe might be coming to drop at some point, especially if they can't find a way to win while they're spending all that money and their future money. But I don't know. I'm not convinced. Maybe some of it is I'm a hater and I'm still mad that they crushed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year. But and maybe I just wouldn't enjoy too much if they actually crashed and burned this year. But yeah, I don't know. The only thing that would make me say still contender, other than their past success, is that I don't feel like any other team in that division is really coming and taking it either. The Commanders, it's hard to say if they're going to take the next step. The Cowboys, I don't know. They'll probably finish 9-7-1 and squeak into the playoffs and lose. The Giants, I mean, Jackson Dart's exciting, but and they got a great defensive line, but they're not a complete team either. There's no way I don't think that they're going to come back and take that division. So I think it's the Eagles' division to lose. In some ways, it's their conference to lose. I just think they're going to lose it.
With the Eagles, I'd say Eagles. I like the Eagles as a team, but I just don't know if Okay, they have their hands. You have Saquon Barkley, Jalen Carter, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, all of that
Mm-hmm.
crazy, crazy good players.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick against them because of that. But with them losing,
So maybe an analogy for you, Daniel, is like, you want to pick the Eagles so bad because they have Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, but in the fourth quarter, do you want your game-winning pass to be Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown? Would you bet your life savings on, like, is that your most steady combination? It's to your point, though they're great players, but have we seen, that connection, especially this year yet? I would say absolutely not. So, to your point, it's great players, but do you count on those individual great players to, have that connection and make those plays, at the end of the games when it matters? And sometimes that's the difference.
one
Yeah.
of the things is A.J. Brown is frustrated. All you guys wait him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about on a team that just won the Super Bowl this last year
Yeah.
and should be a favorite to try to win it all again. All right,
Mm-hmm.
Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 4-1. Aaron Rodgers about to take on Joe Flacco in the Icy Hot Bowl. 41 years old. Uh, was Aaron Rodgers the missing piece? Somehow the Jets just are a killer for all quarterbacks, and so he's really got it. I mean, Justin Fields. I mean, they had negative 10 yards passing last week, so maybe it's that the Jets were the problem, and Aaron Rodgers is still a good player, and Pittsburgh Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. What do you think?
I'd say the Steelers go to the Super Bowl.
Well,
And
they
Rodgers,
can't. They
Yeah.
can't if the Colts are also going to the Super Bowl.
hold up. I have them in the Colts. Okay. First of all. Okay. Yes, I know I picked the Colts to win the Super Bowl. The Steelers are my second favorite to
Okay.
get and win the Super Bowl. Because
Okay.
this is Aaron Rodgers' last deal. He got to get himself in that swing. Be like the Aaron Donald.
Okay.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. Aaron Rodgers goes out on a high note. I mean, it's hard to pick against him, except that it's really hasn't looked the same for the last 3 years. The Steelers' defense is good. To me, it doesn't feel quite as elite as it has been, and yet they're winning more games. It's very confusing to me. I don't really get it. They're kind of like the Colts to me that maybe I just expected them to be bad, and then I can't believe my eyes, so I'm not believing that they're really that good. Um, I think they probably win the division given the state of everyone else. But I think that they will also probably go out early in the playoffs. I think they're a pretender.
Yeah, I lean on the pretender side, but for me, it's like to me the little bit the difference, and I don't know, it's a weird comparison, but like between the Steelers and the Colts is it feels like the Colts are winning games, and then like the Steelers are like winning through flukes, but like they continue to like win through flukes, and like they've done it for like years, and
Yeah.
it's almost like when is it not a fluke? Like is like their game plan somehow like causing these errors, and like it's so consistent that like you almost can't call it a fluke anymore. So it's so weird, to your point, to watch the games, because like, which, I mean, funny because I believe they were the ones who ended up losing a game kind of on the fluke with the Caleb Johnson, the fumble at in the end zone and everything. So they tend to be a team that those kind of fluky plays, or kind of those two or three kind of just odd plays, really change a game. And in the NFL, when typically a spread is 3 or 4 points, I mean, that's the difference. So I lean towards the pretenders, just because I can't bet on the on the the chaos that is kind of the Steelers, which is crazy to say.
Yeah. All right, we got rapid fire to close up here. We're gonna go MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then let's pick our Super Bowl. Winner, loser, and if you want to throw out a score, you can too. Um, so let's start with MVP. Daniel, who's taking home the MVP trophy this year?
Reason I had said Brandon Aubrey. I still stand with Brandon Aubrey. My second favorite to win the MVP, Dale Jones of the Colts.
Okay. All right. And I guess for me for MVP, I gotta go with Pat. I mean, maybe it's recency bias with his last performance. But I think I think he's maybe the second odds favorite currently right now. I think really coming on, Rashee Rice coming back, the offense really just starting to click. We're really kind of seeing kind of the, Chiefs of kind of 3 or 4 years ago. People just kind of tend to say, maybe the Chiefs aren't even as good as they were maybe, a couple of years ago, but they're definitely more fun to watch. And I think, that might translate to, a little bit more hype and a little bit more MVP for MV Pat.
I could see it. Mahomes is a great pick, especially with Rashee Rice coming back. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's been playing at an MVP level all year and really just elevating the level of the team around him. They got a chance to go take the #1 seed in the NFC. If they do that, I think he's going to be MVP of the league. How about Offensive Rookie of the Year? Who's been surprising or impressing you of the offensive rookies so far?
Who you got, Daniel?
I have Emeka Egbuka of the Buccaneers. Oh my goodness, he's had himself a season. See that one-handed catch? He got started in Baker Mayfield's passes here. Come on.
Yeah. No, I would say
Vegas bowlers, that's disrespectful to him. Honestly, like Egbuka is the next great Ohio State product. Ohio State is becoming a strong candidate for wide receiver, and Egbuka is another good example of that.
Yeah, no, Buka's a good pick. So I think one interesting thing I saw, Daniel, though, is so he's been getting a lot of yards, but actually surprisingly he's been getting some of the least separation actually of receivers, despite getting a lot of yards. So one interesting thing to kind of see is if he continues to be able to get that many yards, or kind of maybe he is just such a good player in traffic, or kind of in that close quarters. But it'll be interesting to see if he can continue to get as many yards. So it's an interesting pick. I'll maybe go with still. I think I would still maybe go just to do a little different one. I'll do Genty still. I think the Raiders, I think, are still just such a poor team that I think he really has an opportunity to really get a lot of stats. And as much as people like to say, oh, we watch all the games, some of the voting really comes down to the stats, and I think he really has one of the best opportunities of kind of the rookie class to really pile them up. And some of the again, the voters that claim they watch all the games, I think he might have an advantage. So I'll maybe go with Genty.
Yeah, well, if they really are trying to watch, like if it's based on what people are impressed on when actually watching the games, I think Tyler Warren is a sneaky pick, given that the Colts are actually good. He's been having a really good season. And then I'll also say we always have the bias towards quarterback. Jackson Dart has really energized the Giants since he started taking over the starting job there. How about Defensive Rookie of the Year? Who's jumped out for you?
I mean, to keep it kind of on the team you just mentioned with the Giants, but I think Abdul Carter probably has to be probably the odds-on favorite. I'm not sure, but I would say just how good, to your point, how good the defense has been, and also, I mean, let's call it what it is, the New York Giants. I mean, kind of the the media hype and kind of the, the fact that they still get primetime games again, I think factors into the voting, and, kind of factors into people's kind of attention. So I think a lot of eyes on him. I think he's definitely flashed, really kind of shown the talent and kind of the reason why he was drafted so high. And I think really showing again kind of the impact, kind of again a similar or a different obviously position, from like a Carter, but kind of that same impact of like a Carter for the Eagles. We're kind of seeing with Carter on the Giants. So I'd maybe go with him as my favorite.
Daniel?
Yes, my favorite is maybe Gene Hicks.
Mhm.
A little bit, but then maybe yes, that he did not he's the right receiver. Yes, he's a cornerback. What made it? He had a crazy catch against the Chiefs. I'm talking about Travis Hunter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of the figuring out how to play in the NFL as two positions at the same time. I think has proved a little bit of a steeper learning curve than I expected. But he's still a really good player. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I'm looking at the odds here. Odds on favorite right now is Carson Schlesinger, Schweisinger, not
Oh.
Schlesinger, Schweisinger,
Schlesinger.
linebacker for the Browns. To be honest, I hadn't really been paying attention to him. I haven't been paying attention to the Browns, so that's on me. My pick would have also been Abdul Carter, looking at the way that he adds to that defensive line on the Giants. The top five that I'm looking at here, are Carson Schweisinger, linebacker for the Browns, Jihad Campbell, linebacker for the Eagles, Abdul Carter is third on the list,
Okay.
James Pierce Jr., edge rusher for the Falcons, is fourth, and Xavier Watts, safety for the Falcons, is fifth.
Shout out Omaha Burke.
Hey. All right, so we got Super Bowl picks left. Daniel, you said the Colts already. You gave us a sneak peek. Who are the Colts beating in the Super Bowl, and do you have a score?
First of all, Falcons is a team most likely. Wait a minute, no. Packers.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay.
The reason, well, Packers,
So Colts and Packers for the Super Bowl?
yes.
Okay.
Aren't they NFC North? The Packers?
I think.
Yeah, NFC North.
Okay, yeah.
And the reason why I'm arguing with the Colts to win, but if the Packers are playing against them, then Packers definitely, because Donovan's going to turn 27 years old. The last every single quarterback that has won a Super Bowl, Bart Starr, when he won his Super Bowl, he was 27. Aaron Rodgers, when he was 27, he won a Super Bowl. Brett Favre won a Super Bowl at 27. And history will repeat itself. Solo 27 gives him a Super Bowl.
Okay, so
All
you're
right.
changing your pick, and it's going to be Packers beat the Colts for the Super Bowl?
If it's the Packers in the Super Bowl, they have to. They
Alright.
have to. You literally have Matthew Golden, you have Micah Parsons, you have Jordan Love, you have Christian Watson, you got Lucas Bainez, you got
It's a good team.
Jaden Reed. You got
For
so
sure.
many good receivers. You got so many great talent. You got Devontae White. Like I mentioned, you have Micah Parsons. And I just can't not say the Packers to win the Super Bowl because of their star power all around. They
Mhm.
are fun to watch, and they're one of the teams to beat this year in the NFC. Literally,
Daniel, the
hands
more you talk, the
down.
more you remind me of Mel Kiper.
My name is not Mel Kiper. My name is Dan Snacker.
No, I like the analysis though, but Daniel, I gotta go. So for the anti-curse and also to stick with my preseason favorite, I have to go. I'll go the Bills over the Packers. So actually, I think the Packers can, make the Super Bowl, but I think they're gonna lose. And I'll go 30-24. We'll have the Bills being the winners. So. That's who I'll go with, and I just think again, I think the Bills will get healthy. I think Josh Allen probably pains me to say this, but I think he's probably the most talented maybe quarterback in the NFL right now. Again, maybe not going to say the best, but I think maybe the most talented quarterback in the NFL right now, and I think maybe this will be the year that they make it to the Super Bowl.
It could be. It could be. I just looking at the way that things have gone. This has been my prediction for a while now. So I think that the Chiefs are going to go into their bye week with a losing record, 4-5. They're going to put things together after the bye, go on a run, finish either probably 11-6, so drop one down the stretch somewhere. Make the playoffs as a wild card. I got the Chargers winning the division. And then they come in to I don't know. We'll say either Buffalo or Pittsburgh, one of those two, as the 2 seed. Chiefs is the 7, and then they take out Josh Allen either in the first round or the second round, on their way back to the Super Bowl. But I'm gonna have them lose to the Detroit Lions, say 40-27 in a rematch of last night's game.
Speaking of the Lions and the Chiefs, specifically, if the Chiefs to make the ball, that's the team I don't want them to face is the Lions. If the Chiefs don't make the playoffs, then I want Lions and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll say the Lions were very, injured in the most recent game. Obviously, I mean, sure, Chiefs were missing some players as well. Left tackle, the receiver, etc. But they definitely were injured, so it would be interesting to see, if they'd take them down in the rematch. But
There
yeah,
you go.
awesome. Well, I think we've covered all the questions, and I'll hand it over to Adam, and then maybe he can do a little recap, and then maybe Daniel, you want to sign us off?
Yeah. So we discussed here our surprise teams and players that surprise us in a positive way and a negative way through the first third of the NFL season. We kind of made some predictions then for who's going to win MVP, top players, and then we each made our Super Bowl picks, which will all probably be spectacularly wrong. Daniel?
Yes, we will see you next. Most likely in his next 2026 NFL My Round Special! I know Adam's pumped for that. Anyway, besides being back as Nuke, underneath that is my brother Adam. Bye bye, everyone. Oh, bye. Anyway, we will see you next. Most likely, 2026 or during the postseason. So we will see you on the flip side. Peace.